Did you know that the story of how the universe was created is not a myth about gods? It is a warning about power. For thousands of years, we have been taught that Greek mythology is just a collection of ancient fairy tales, stories of lightning bolts and monsters. But what if everything you have been taught is a lie? What if these stories were actually encoded blueprints passed down by ancient civilizations to warn us about the darkest parts of human nature, the cycle of tyranny, the inevitability of betrayal, and the terrifying truth that those who hold power will do absolutely anything to keep it? Today we are opening the forbidden archives. We will reveal the true story of the Titans, the blood-soaked rebellion of Kronos, and the terrifying secret behind the rise of Zeus. But I must warn you, once you understand what these stories are actually trying to tell you, you cannot unsee it. The history of the universe is written in blood, and the cycle is about to repeat. In the beginning, there was no light, there was no time. There was only chaos, a vast, infinite void of emptiness. But from that darkness, the earth emerged. The Greeks called her Gaia, and from Gaia came Uranus, the sky. Together, they produced the first rulers of the universe, the Titans, beings of unimaginable power who controlled the sun, the moon, and the oceans. But here is the first dark truth the ancients were trying to teach us. Power corrupts instantly. Uranus looked at his own children and did not see a legacy. He saw a threat. He was terrified that they would one day replace him. So he did what every tyrant in history has done. He imprisoned them. He locked his own children deep within the darkest depths of the earth in a place called Tartarus, where they could never challenge his rule. But tyranny always breeds rebellion, and Gaia, watching her children suffer in the dark, decided it was time for the sky to fall. Gaia fashioned a weapon, an indestructible sickle forged from the hardest stone in the earth. She offered it to her children, asking who would be brave enough to strike down their father. Only one stepped forward, the youngest, the most cunning, and the most ruthless of the Titans. His name was Kronos. Kronos did what the oppressed always do. He waited in the shadows, and when Uranus came down to the earth, Kronos struck. In a single brutal act of violence, he severed his father's power and cast it into the sea. Kronos had won. He freed his siblings and took his place as the absolute ruler of the universe. But this is where the story reveals its most terrifying secret. The oppressed, when they finally gain power, almost always become the oppressor. Kronos had seen what his father did to protect his throne, and Kronos decided to do the exact same thing. A prophecy was spoken. It warned Kronos that just as he had overthrown his father, one of his own children would one day overthrow him. Kronos was paralyzed by the same fear that had driven Uranus mad. But Kronos did not just imprison his children, he consumed them. As his wife Rhea gave birth to the first generation of the gods, Hestia, Demeter, Hera, Hades, and Poseidon, Kronos swallowed them whole. One by one, he trapped them inside his own body, ensuring they could never rise against him. He believed he had broken the cycle. He believed his power was absolute, but he underestimated the desperation of a mother. When Rhea was pregnant with her sixth child, she made a choice that would change the fate of the universe. She wrapped a heavy stone in infant's clothing and handed it to Kronos. Blinded by paranoia, he swallowed the stone without looking, and the real child was hidden away in a dark cave on the island of Crete. His name was Zeus, but who kept him alive in that darkness? A divine goat named Amalthea nursed him with her milk, hidden deep inside the caves of Mount Ida. And a group of warrior priests, the Curetes, clashed their bronze shields and iron spears together around the cave entrance, over and over, to drown out the infant's cries so that Kronos could never hear him. Think about that for a moment. The future king of the universe, hidden in a cave, kept alive by a goat, and guarded by dancing warriors. And here is the detail that the history books never connect. This is the same pattern as the story of Moses. A tyrant orders the death of a child. A desperate mother hides him away. Strangers become his guardians, and the hidden child grows up to overthrow the very power that tried to destroy him. The same story, thousands of years apart. The ancients were telling us something. Power always creates the instrument of its own destruction. Zeus was raised in secret, fueled by the knowledge of what his father had done. When he finally reached manhood, he did not attack Kronos with brute force. He used strategy. He disguised himself and slipped a poison into his father's drink, a poison that forced Kronos to violently expel the 5 children he had swallowed. They emerged fully grown, fully powerful, and burning for revenge. But Zeus knew that 5 gods could not defeat the mighty Titans alone. He needed an army, and to find one, he had to go to the one place even the Titans feared to tread. A place so deep, so dark, that if you dropped a bronze anvil from the surface of the earth, it would fall for 9 days and 9 nights before hitting the bottom. He had to go to Tartarus. Tartarus was not just a prison. It was the abyss before hell existed. And locked inside its deepest chambers were the beings that Uranus had buried alive at the dawn of time. The Cyclopes, Brontes, Steropes, and Arges, giants with a single massive eye, possessing strength that could shatter mountains. But they were not just brutes. They were the greatest master craftsmen the universe had ever seen. And locked beside them were creatures even more terrifying. The Titanomachy, 3 brothers, Cottus, Briareos, and Gyges. Each possessed 50 heads and 100 arms. They were walking natural disasters, capable of hurling 300 boulders simultaneously with perfect accuracy. Uranus had buried them because he was disgusted by their existence. Kronos had left them to rot because he feared what they could do. But Zeus saw an opportunity. Zeus descended into the abyss alone. He stood before the monsters that had been locked in darkness for millennia. Beings that had never seen light, never felt freedom, never known anything but the cold stone walls of their prison. He did not offer them pity, he offered them a deal. "Fight for me," he said, "and I will give you the one thing the Titans denied you. Freedom." The Cyclopes and the Titanomachy agreed. And to seal the pact, the Cyclopes went to their cosmic forge. They took the raw, untamed energy of the universe and hammered it into weapons of unimaginable destruction. For Hades, they forged the Helm of Darkness, granting absolute invisibility. For Poseidon, the Trident, capable of splitting the earth and commanding every ocean. And for Zeus, they forged the ultimate weapon of supreme authority, the Master Thunderbolt. Armed with weapons forged in the abyss and backed by an army of 100-handed nightmares, Zeus and his siblings ascended from Tartarus. They stood on Mount Olympus, looking across the plains of Thessaly toward Mount Othrys, the stronghold of the Titans. The battle lines were drawn, the old gods against the new. The universe held its breath. What followed was the Titanomachy, a 10-year war of such apocalyptic violence that it literally tore the fabric of reality apart. Mountains were shattered, oceans boiled, the sky burned. But what actually happened inside that war, and which Titan came within moments of defeating Zeus and ruling the universe forever, is a secret the history books refuse to tell. That story is next. If you want to uncover the forbidden secrets of the Titan War, hit the subscribe button right now. Join the Forbidden Archives. And tell us in the comments, was Zeus a hero for freeing the monsters of Tartarus? Or was he just building a more terrifying army than his father ever had?